The selection of subject matter.
Presentation of learning objectives.
Of course, presentation or the discussion of the lesson.
Maybe creating the application or exercise activities.
Maybe the motivation part.
Me, the generalization part.
The difficulties that I found in writing the objectives while making the lesson plan is that I'm not really sure with my grammar. Another is simplifying the objectives that is required with the content of my lesson. I also having a hard time in preparing objectives that can describe skills as well as objectives that describe the cognitive domain.
To be honest, I have difficulty in classifying objectives based on the taxonomy of the subject matter I teach, as well as analyzing the content of my lesson.
The same area as Miss Trisha, but as for me, establishing the logical relationship between objective, subject matter, and the instructional materials that I needed were quite hard on my part.
In my case, I have difficulty formulating behavioral objectives. I am having difficulty identifying skills-oriented lessons and demonstrating the skills presented. The reason why establishing a relationship between skills, procedures, and practices is hard for me.
For my part, it is difficult for me to use the drill method in teaching, since I do not know the difference between a drill from a review. That is why it is quite hard for me to evaluate the results of the drill method as I teach.
The only thing that is hard for me is relating the review guide to the present subject matter.
As for me, motivating the learners about the new lesson is somewhat hard for me because I don't know how to present a motivating statement regarding the new lesson. And I am also having a difficulty in formulating questions that will get the attention or the interest of my students.
What's difficult for me is that I feel that I only have limited ability to present the content of my lesson logically. I also feel that I do not always attain the lesson objectives when I discuss or present the lesson. Moreover, constructing thought-provoking questions leading to the lesson's discussions is somewhat hard for me.
As for me, I have difficulties formulating questions that can summarize the lesson, as well as drawing generalizations about the concept of the lesson.
It is quite difficult to make activities that will enrich the concept of the lessons, as well in the connecting objective of the lesson with the practice or exercises.
It is hard for me to establish the relationship between the objectives of the lesson and the test items, as well identifying the difficulty index of test items.
I don't really have difficulties in lesson planning, but to be honest, the implementation of assignment was the easiest part of lesson planning.